You're listening to Do That Well with your hosts, Brenda Brown and Karen Thrall, a podcast about real experiences and how to turn them into life lessons. Unscripted, honest, funny, genuine, and passionate. A series of conversations where we explore every aspect of human interaction and provoke each other to do life well. Welcome to 2022.
What?
We're here.
Happy New Year!
We've made
Oh,
it.
yeah, this is
And
good.
uh, as promised, we are going to tell you all a little bit about some changes that will be coming up in
Mhm.
this year. As well, we are going to go over some of our past favorite episodes to just remind you what goodness lies in store in the Do That Well archives.
That's great. Yeah. It's so fun that we accomplished our goal for 2021. Our goal was to have it videoed. And so we've been
We did it.
videoing every week and to have an episode every week. And we did it. We did it. We did 52 episodes. It's just what a huge accomplishment. So
Yes.
yay, yay to
Yay.
us.
And
And
thank you
thank
all
you
for
to
listening.
yes, thank you for listening. Oh man.
We wouldn't have the drive and motivation to keep going if it wasn't for the fact that we keep seeing those listens happening. So
Yeah,
it's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we do have some things that you'll see changing slightly in 2022. One of those things you'll probably notice towards the end of 2021, we started to bring in some new faces, some special
Yes.
guests. And that is a theme that will continue into 2022.
Mm.
We'll be bringing in different people with expertise in arenas where we don't have it, as well as just some different faces on occasion, just so
Mhm,
that you can
mhm.
get some different perspectives that are beyond Karen and I.
Yes. And then we're also going to do just once in a while where we each take our vacation. We take a little break, a little holiday from podcasting. So hopefully we'll have a guest co-host, some new surprises for guest co-hosting, which would be really fun as well. So we're excited about that as well.
Definitely. And I think another thing that you'll see from us is just more of a presence on our Instagram and
Yes.
perhaps even in some other platforms as well. More you'll have to stay tuned to find out, but we
Yes.
really are hoping in 2022, well, I know I'm really hoping for this is, when we first started this podcast, it was about having conversations. It was about trying to foster community and relationships. And so we want to take that idea and actually put it into practice when it comes to this podcast. Like, we want to grow our community of
Mhm.
listeners and followers and people that want to be on the podcast. As I said, we're going to have more guests. So if you're somebody that's interested and you're a listener, but you think it'd be fun to jump in a conversation with us, like, email us,
Yeah.
send us a message on Instagram. But one of the things that I know I really would like to see more in this year for us is just to engage with all of you
Yes.
a bit more.
Yes. Yes. And this is maybe too big of a wish list for this year, but you never know with us, is that call in. Like it'd be fun to once in a while do a live podcast where you can actually call in real time and be
Yes.
part of the recording of the podcast. I mean, that we would absolutely love that. So send us good cheers and vibes so that we get to that point as well.
Exactly. Well, that's more or less it on updates. So we'll hop into our nostalgia here.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we were thinking about reminiscing. For me, it was the last year in 2021. What were my three favorites? So I went through the whole 52 list. I went, okay, which ones are my three? So I have three.
And I
Um,
also have three. I'm
okay.
curious to see if we have any overlap.
Okay. So you go first. You do the first one.
Okay, so one of the ones I have on my list is it cheated a little bit because it was a two-parter. But our two-part series on Greek love, the different words for Greek love.
Yes, that was so good. I learned a lot on that one. It was really cool to find out there's so many different expressions of love, and then there's the toxic love that the Greeks threw in there too.
Right. Yes. But what I really liked about that conversation and that those two episodes is that it for me it really solidified this idea that I had already been living my life by in a way, but this idea that there's so many different ways in which we can love each other, and that it's not all romantic movie love, it's not all, what you see on television. And I think that those episodes for myself gave me freedom to like tell my friends I love them
Yeah,
more
yeah,
often.
yeah.
I found myself telling people I love them so much more after that, because I was like, it's not, I can say I love you. Like, you're my friend. I love you. And and I know it sounds silly, but I think there was a freedom in that
Wow,
that I
wow.
got that I really liked.
So good. It's true because there's like in the way they broke it down, because were there eight of them? There were eight different expressions of love
I think
in
there
that.
were eight that we went over, but if memory serves, there were so many more beyond that, even.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And we are going to put the links. So these episodes in the blurb for this today's episode. If you want to go look at our blurb and then click that link, so to refresh your memory, please do. Yeah.
Yes.
So on that, I'm going to segue because I also picked a two-parter, and that was the family dynamics. We did that in June
Oh,
2021,
yes. Hmm.
and I love that one. I still refer to that one, like when I'm listening, when I listen to people talking about their families, I'm like, oh, that's extended family. Oh, that's a nucleus family. Oh, that's a, and it was so cool. I'm really way more aware of the family dynamics and how, some kids are being raised by their grandparents, and some is a single parent home, and some is a multi-family home from different families merging together, and some are with all their relatives together. Like, it was the best thing for me because I only knew mine, and that was parents, children, one house, very independent. And that really helped me, not helped, well, enhanced me. I started appreciating and enjoying how different families were. And and I remember we did all the pros and the cons.
Hmm.
Like they all did flaws, their strengths and their flaws. And so I'm cracking up, like when I see, oh yeah, that's that, that's that thing. And then I see the endearment too, because you sacrifice, you give up something. For each one has a strength that the other ones don't have, so you can
Hmm.
admire it in them. Admire, like, wow, you have that strength. I don't have that. I wasn't raised with that, but wow, I really admired in you. So yeah, so mine was the family dynamics.
Yeah, and I, like you said, I liked that with that episode. Um, I think for me as well, it has enhanced my ability to like, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just not play as much of that grass is greener game.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
understanding that there really are pros and cons to all of these different
yes.
dynamics that can exist, and that I'm sure that my understanding of the dynamics that exist is probably even still very small. There's probably so much more that I'm not aware of.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. Okay, and on that, another thing that was meaningful to me in that episode was something that I remember you talked about, and I just loved it. Was if you don't have positive family memories or family dynamics, you actually get to create your own family. You get to choose
yes.
if you are family-less. If you feel like I don't have family, then you develop one, and you
Right.
start picking and choosing, and you include people and neighbors or friends or colleagues, and you start to create a family unit. And that's how wonderful it is. The word family. And thank you for saying the grass is not greener on the other side, because you can also create a family if that's an experience you didn't have that was positive. So yeah, I
Hmm.
like the family dynamics. Link will be in our blurb.
Okay, so my second favorite, I guess I'm going in order of how much I liked them. So we're getting to my favorite will be the last
Okay.
one, but um was our episode on gaslighting, our no gaslighting episode. Did you have that one?
Yep. Totally loved it.
It's because it was so good.
It was freaking amazing. Yeah, you have to, if you haven't listened to that one, definitely listen to that one, because that was an eye opener in so many ways. But
Yes.
you go first. You go
Okay,
first.
so I love my factoids. So I really liked that for that episode, we had that really fun factoid about the origin of the word gaslighting.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm such a geek, but I just thought that was so cool. I thought it was so cool that this idea that we have of gaslighting came from the movie. And well, you're going to have to go listen to the episode to find out
Yeah,
exactly what it
don't give it all away,
means.
Brenda. Don't give it all away.
But I thought that was really cool to learn the origins, and additionally to understand that our what we know as gaslighting is actually a fairly new concept. Like the concept has existed, but what we call gaslighting now is
1980s, right?
yeah, it
You
was
said
or
1980s.
70s, 80s, something
70s,
like
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, and on that, I because of that episode, I'm hearing it, and when people talk, and I can tell, and I can tell when that's not the word's not being used accurately.
Yes, yes,
So I had a really good friend of mine say, "Hey, I was told I gaslight." I go, "Well, tell me what they were referring to." And I was like, "Oh no, that's not gaslighting. It isn't. No, gaslighting is." And I was able to explain what gaslighting was. So also, it's also helping diffuse any ideas that we can come up with, perceptions of gaslighting, and then really maybe use it in its right context. So that,
100%.
yeah. And then I've had people use it in the right context, and I'm listening. I'm like, "Oh yes, they're right. That is
Hey, we're
gaslighting."
gaslighting or being gaslit.
Yeah. And then the other thing that was really cool was that we're all guilty of it in small measures. And so it's that we have to hold each other accountable not to entertain that kind of way of communicating or thinking or winning or
Right,
whatever. Yeah.
right. But I really appreciate that you brought up like understanding what it actually means, and then seeing those moments now where people aren't using the word correctly.
Mhm.
When we did that episode, I know something we touched on was that gaslighting has become, or the word gaslighting or being gaslit, this concept, it is a bit of like a buzzword.
Yeah.
It is something that I think a lot of social media or different, media news outlets will use the word gaslighting or that sort of language. And I think that it's meant to be very alarmist and very like, we're being gaslit. But a lot of the times, what they are referring to actually isn't,
No,
it
is
isn't
it?
gaslighting.
No.
And so I really appreciate that you brought that up, Karen, because
Mm.
I do think for myself that is something I've noticed more as well. And yes, like gently correcting people, like, oh, well, I don't think that you meant gaslighting. Like, I think maybe you meant this because gaslighting is this, and it doesn't sound like that's what's happening. And I think having that understanding and then the language to be able to diffuse those moments has been helpful
Mm.
because it can be really easy to just get into a little tizzy about it, like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm being gaslit," and maybe that's
Mhm.
not what's happening.
Right. Right. Okay, my last one, because that was on my list. The other one that was really great, and I'm actually using in coaching, so it really had an impact on me, is the Stop Gossip one. That was in August. We did that one,
Okay.
2021, and my favorite thing that has such an impact, and uh, I won't get into all the details. My favorite part is when you hear that someone is gossiping about you, your body, the physiological reaction your body has is the same as if someone were to punch you in the gut. So the effects of gossip to our bodies when we find out there's gossip is like someone's punching the gut. And I was like, poof, that was just like, that's how strong it is. That's how powerful it is. And so I really like that episode because we also admitted we're guilty. And this is the thing I love, Brenda, is we never ever talk about these topics because we're experts. We talk about these topics because they provoke us to do life well.
Mhm.
Can we not gossip well? Can I not gossip well? And then how do I get out of it? I mean, even that's been challenging. Like, this I didn't want it to go here. Reeling, trying to get out of the conversation because I now that I have all this information, I'm more accountable for it. It's like, so I've been put in precarious or predicaments where I'm just going. How do I close out? I got to shut this conversation down, only because I'm trying to practice, But
Right.
so that one was a big one for me was to stop gossip. And I'm using it in coaching. It's been so cool. And I've been studying it a little bit because I find it it's very human quality of
Mhm.
humans. And it is part of our brain, our neuroscience to go there. So you have to almost reprogram and mature your thinking to not do that. But it's such a human nature thing that we're all, I mean, there's not one innocent person that I yet have never met someone who's innocent of gossiping, but it's been in childhood, it's everywhere, you know. But anyway, so that's mine. I really, really, really have enjoyed that one.
That one almost made it onto my list as well. So it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Um, with that one, I believe we talked about the drama triangle. I won't
Yes.
give away more than that, but I believe that's when we introduced that idea. And I will say for me as well, that episode, similar to what we were saying a moment ago, it has really helped me catch those moments in my life, or when I observe other people going into the drama triangle or getting themselves in conversations that include gossip. It has helped me be able to understand when that dynamic is happening, or be able to pick up on it. And I think, again, it's given me some language, because now I can say to someone, well, like, are you familiar with the drama triangle? No? Okay, let me tell you.
Mm.
And this is starting to happen right now, and I don't want to be a part of it. And I feel like I've had enough conversations with people that I know in my life now, where I can even just say, like, oh, is this a drama triangle? Are we getting here now? And again, you'll have to listen to the
Yes.
episode to find out exactly what I'm talking about, and to know how to avoid said drama triangle. Um,
Oh.
but yes, again, I think that was a really good episode that helped just give me information and language so that I could continue to have those conversations with people in my life.
Okay, so I'll just throw out this, since we do have a little bit of time, I can throw this out too. So what's happening in the workplace, and it makes sense, and it's pretty common, it's very common across the board, is that because everything's remote, there's not that three-dimensional body language happening.
Hmm.
So now, if during meetings that you would have had in person, and if you picked up your phone, started texting somebody else in the meeting, I mean, there's no way you would do it. Like everybody be watching you texting so and so, and then they're replying. But because we don't have that in person thing, there's a lot of texting going on, meetings, rolling your eyes, making negative comments, making jokes, and can you believe it? What do you think about that? And
Right.
this stuff never happened. So there's this habit new bad habit that has naturally surfaced because of remote work that was never there before. And so there's a predicament in the workplace now. And HR, I've talked to HR departments and executives, and they're trying to figure out, how do we diffuse this bad habit? Like, how do we get rid of this bad habit? So it's starting to just infiltrate into the workplace across the board. Like, I've had executives saying, when I bring it up, they'll go, "Oh, I do that." Oh, I've done that, you know. So it's just common. You just, because you have access to have a conversation on the side that you never had before. Anyway, so that's why I'm so intrigued by it, and also how do you coach it? So it's been something it's been really excited about learning how to coach better. So yeah.
That's such a good point, Karen, that I hadn't thought about. But now that you say that, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You're so right. I think that with this virtual culture, and specific to workplaces that use, virtual communication, you're right, though. I think that the gossip and those little times where you're trying to create, because we're trying to create camaraderie, right? I think that's what people, this is my opinion, but I think that's often what we're trying to do. Like, we're trying to create buy-in, we're trying to create camaraderie. So by saying, like, well, what did you think of that comment? Even though it's like this negative thing that I'm bringing to the table, I'm trying to create rapport,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel, I'm totally just musing. This is just my opinion, but I can't help but wonder if part of the reason that is increasing with the virtual communication, in addition to what you said, because now we can do it because no one knows that I'm texting
Yeah.
someone during my meeting.
I've been texting someone the whole time you've been talking. No, I'm kidding.
Right?
I'm kidding.
uh,
I'm kidding.
in addition to the fact that we can do it, there's also this, like, we aren't as connected. So I wonder if there's a part of us that wants to try and create more connection and create more rapport. And that's just one of the ways we
Yeah.
naturally
Yeah.
know how.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
human nature. It is, and we have an opinion, and we like to pick a side. And the other thing that was cool about the gossip thing was, I guess I'm giving you, they won't have to listen now, but was the whole thing of gossip. You can define gossip when the person you're talking about isn't there to represent themselves.
mhm.
That's then you know you're in gossip, and so we elaborated everyone, so you still have to listen.
Right.
Anyways, okay.
There's so much
So
more.
yeah, so those are my three: family dynamics, the stop gossip, and the no gaslighting. So you had Greek love,
Greek love. I
no
also had
gaslighting.
gaslighting,
Okay,
and
what's the third?
to round us out, this is a little different one. One of my favorite episodes from 2021 was when we interviewed May Globus
Oh yeah.
and talked to her about sound healing. And
Wow.
twofold. The first reason it's one of my favorites is because we just started experimenting with bringing other people into our podcast in 2021. And May, I think, was the last person that we interviewed in 2021. And um, I think just the fact that I liked the energy, for lack of a better word, of having that third person. I thought it was a very successful. I
Mm,
felt that the dynamic was nice, and we really hit a flow. Not to say that we didn't when we interviewed those other people. I think all of those elements were still there, but because it wasn't our first or second, because
right.
we had a few
Right.
under our belt.
Yeah.
So
Yes, it's true.
apologies to the other
That's
people that
yeah.
we
We
interviewed
love
prior to
Crystal.
May.
We love Crystal. We love Eric. But
Yes,
yes, you're right. We because we'd regroup and go, okay, how do we were learning how to be a good interviewer
right.
as well. So
Yes. So,
yes, that's true. Good point.
if you're listening to the audience, it's a little bit more of me like giving myself a pat on the back. Like, I like that episode because I think that we did it well. Um,
Ah, that's
but I
hilarious.
have another reason for liking
Okay,
it
okay,
for
okay.
the audience's benefit, which was that I think that this was a really cool episode because of the topic. This was one of the times that we took a topic that isn't as scientifically rooted. It does have a big scientific element to it, which we talk about on the episode.
Yeah,
So if
which
you
was
didn't know,
so cool. That was for both of us. The scientific side of that was
right,
just amazing. She outlined it so clear. Like, oh yeah, I love the
exactly.
scientific. Me too. I really liked it. Yeah.
But there's also this metaphysical element. And
Mm,
I think that there have been other episodes where we have talked a little bit about the metaphysical or the woo woo or the
yeah.
things that aren't quite as, concrete in science. But I think with our episode with sound healing, it was a really nice marriage of those two worlds because we really
Mm,
did get to talk about both sides of it, the science side and the metaphysical side, which was risky for us. And I hope that everyone that listened really enjoyed it. But we hadn't really gone there
no,
with our topics before, and
yeah.
so I think that it was really fun because the content was just so
Mm,
invigorating. It was
mhm,
so different than what we
mhm,
typically bring to the table, and I really liked that.
mhm. I do
Um,
too. And I mean, May. I mean, she's definitely found her purpose. She was a marketing guru. She was working for a very large company in the marketing department, and now she runs a podcast. She hosts a podcast where she interviews all the leadership in the Vancouver, Canada area. She does podcast interviews with all them and has sound therapy. And now corporations are hiring her. Like, she found her purpose, you know.
so cool.
And I just, yeah. And she's got such a flair for the art too. She's a true creative, a true artist. And she's all love. Like, see, she's somebody I would say she's like, you get around, you're like, she's all love.
Definitely. I
Yeah,
I've never
yeah,
met
she's
May in
great.
person, but
Yeah,
via the internet, I definitely picked up on all of that.
yeah,
So
yeah, she's pretty sweet. I love that. That's great. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for us to do more interviews, and it's going to be so fun. And also for us because we started learning how to ask questions, and now we get to like receive.
right.
We're bringing somebody to us, and they're going to teach us, and it's almost like reading an article, but in human form. So fun factoids for you, Brenda.
Yes, definitely.
Oh
So there
man.
you have it. Those are three of each of our favorite episodes in 2021. As we mentioned many times, but I'm going to mention it again. We will link all of these episodes in the bio for this episode. And hopefully, you will go listen to them and take away some fun things if you haven't already. Um, because we have just a couple minutes, since we both had an overlapping one of gaslighting, I'm going to throw one more out really
Okay, okay.
quickly that I think is a really fun one. And that would be the episode on nice.
I almost picked it. Okay, talk to me. Okay, talk to me.
So I throwing the audience for a loop here. I was like closing out and I was like, wait, no, just one more. So for the episode on nice, I think that it was just one that hit really close to home for me. I know I've mentioned before on our podcast that I've had a tendency to be a people pleaser in my life. And so the episode on nice was one where I personally felt like I got a lot out of it. And I know I had other people, like friends and listeners of the podcast, talk about or bring things to me from this one as well. So I think this is one that a lot of people really resonated with. I
Mm,
think that in our culture, we do have this tendency to try and like always be nice and always be, and so I think the fact that we went into some of the stigma around nice and what it can mean to be like nice versus being respectful versus being, what else. And it gives us a little freedom to not always think like, well, I'm not being nice if I don't do it this way, or I have to be
mhm,
nice, or whatever it may be.
mm. Yeah, I like that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I was that one kind of because me too, Brenda. Is how do I replace nice? you know. So yeah, it's so good. Okay, so there we are. And
There's
now we're gonna
probably
have new
there's probably
favorites.
at least 6 episodes now that you can all
Yes,
go and listen to that are our
yes.
favorites.
Yes. And we're going to make some new favorites for 2022. Thank you for, please stay with us. Not please, I know they are. They're going to
Yeah,
stay
oh,
with
we're
us. So thank you.
listening.
Stay with us. And then here we go. Adventure begins 2022.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great year. All right. Bye.
Bye.